Developing now on the crisis at the border, Texas Governor Rick Perry announcing he's deploying as many as 1,000 National Guard troops to help secure the border, despite White House claims that the number of children crossing the border has dropped sharply in recent weeks.
I will not stand idly by while our citizens are under assault and little children from Central America are detained in squalor. We are too good a country for that to occur. That is why today I am using my executive authority as governor of Texas and activating the National Guard.
But the White House dismissing Perry's plans for the border as an attempt to, quote, generate headlines. Meantime, the White House pushing back against a report in the Washington Post that the administration ignored alarm bells about the growing immigration crisis, as we see in this testy exchange between White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest and reporters.
I'd first point out that you're asking about a story that's based entirely on anonymous sources. If you do take a look at what this administration's response has been, not just in the last couple of months, but over the last few years, you've seen that this administration has repeatedly sought additional resources to deal with this specific problem at the border.
That story did not just have anonymous sources, it had both.
Well, hold on a second. I'm not suggesting that there aren't people who are quoted. I'll give you a chance. I'm not saying there aren't people quoted on the record in the story. There are people quoted on the record in the story. Cecilia Munoz from the White House is quoted in the story. But the lead of that story is hooked entirely to anonymous sources. That's a fact.
Okay. Well, I'll let the Post deal with whatever interaction.
If they choose to show up, maybe they can defend themselves.
All right, we see a situation like this, Harris. You know, so we're looking for some leadership here. All right, we're looking for some leadership, and you have it coming out of the great state of Texas with Governor Perry saying, I'm not going to stand by idly while I wait for nothing to happen.
Yeah, a couple of things. Governor Rick Perry was recently in Fox News studios. I spent some time with him. He feels so passionate about this issue. His state is spending $1.3 million a day on trying to keep those children out of squalor in those detention centers and trying to deal with the situation that's coming across our border like an infectious disease. We can't even stop it. And yes, the numbers have come down from about 1,400 a day to about 1,000 a day. That's still a very high number, potentially most of them children that are coming across illegally. But at the same time, you know, it has to do with the heat. It has to do with the temperatures. It doesn't have to do with the policies coming out of Washington that those numbers are slowing down a little bit. It cools off a little bit, and our authorities down on the border full well expect those numbers to pop right back up again.
Right.
I really like the emphasis you put on goodness, and you heard it in Governor Perry's statement. To do good requires taking action. You just can't stand up and say, well, I feel bad for these kids down there. If you feel bad for them, you got to do something about it to improve their lives and prevent it from continuing to happen. This is what leadership looks like on the border. And I'll say, it will hinge on how he uses these National Guard troops a little bit. How empowered will they be?
Well,
that's a very important thing.
They are not empowered to be part of the processing of children. That I can tell you.
Well, they have assets, they have aircraft, and they can obviously increase surveillance on the border. But I think that's the key question: is what are those 1,000 troops?
Right, but so they're there, Ainsley, to secure the border because no one else is doing this job, and because the border is so porous, it's become an attractive nuisance. All these families and children to just try and permeate and come through because they're that desperate. We have a responsibility.
I've seen the wall that's there. Yes, they can't make arrests, but they can definitely help deter, because if these illegal immigrants are seeing someone in a uniform right there at the border, they're not going to try to cross there. So if we cover that border, then it will definitely help deter some of these illegals.
Show of force.
Now, exactly. What's happening to these kids? Despicable. But where are the leaders of Central American countries that are allowing this to happen? They need to come, take responsibility, get their children. I know they're meeting with President Obama on Friday, as you were mentioning yesterday, Harris, but they need to take responsibility, or at least give us some money to help send them
partner with us to do something.
Exactly.
Rather than inviting them to the White House, take them to the border.
Right.
I know somebody who doesn't
He's
want to
avoiding
go
that
there.
like the plague right now.
Democrat, supporter of Obama, has said, hey, listen, our own children in Chicago need help. If you have $4 billion to give to illegals, give at least $2 billion to Chicago.
Sandra?
All right,
He
well,
has said
Governor
that on the
Perry
record.
taking some action there.